You're the first person who regularly tells me that every day is not going to be your Oscar performance day, and you have to give yourself grace, and there's going to be seasons where you're less productive, you're not engaged, you make mistakes, and I think a lot of people put this expectation to just be perfect every single day.
We can't be. We could strive for that.
Yeah.
But there are days when it's just not going to happen for whatever reason.
Welcome to the Dynamist Studios this week. If you are somebody who has been cruising along and life came out of left field and just punched you right in the nose, totally changed your plans, your expectations, and you felt hopeless, you felt like you didn't know where to go, how to transition, what to do next, this episode is for you. This episode is all about adversity, overcoming struggle. It's about submission. It's about regrowth and regeneration and God's blessings, just seeing opportunity. It's about shifting your lens and your mindset and finding opportunity. With that, I want to jump right into today's guest, and I'll introduce her. Her name is Didi MacPherson. Didi owns a very successful company today called Alliance Printing. As I've shared many times on this podcast before, am married, and my wife is a widow, and my wife's late husband, Tommy MacPherson, this is Tommy's mother, Didi. And so Didi to me is like my adopted mother-in-law. I married my wife, and by marrying my wife, also got the MacPherson clan. It's been an incredible blessing to not only come alongside and be a part of this family, be welcomed into this family, but also to learn from this family. And I had been talking to Didi about her story, about how she formed the company, where the company's at today, and just her journey and the growth through that journey. And I just felt like it could speak to so many out there who are maybe facing the same thing. With that, guys, I'm just incredibly honored and excited to welcome Didi into the studio today. So Didi, welcome.
Thank you, Tim. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Really quickly, before we kind of get into the meat and potatoes, who are you and what do you do?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a mother, sister, daughter. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a believer in Jesus. I'm a grandma. Yeah, those are probably most of my titles.
This is actually a historical day in Dynamist. You are the first female guest that I've ever hosted. Hopefully not the last, because I have a strong girl background. My foundation is formed by girls. I come from, my mother, and I was raised with 4 sisters. I was the only boy in a household of 4 sisters. I have 2 daughters. I'm pro girl.
Pro girl.
I'm pro girl. I'm girl dad. I'm pro girl. I'm pro strong girl. I really hope that we start getting more female guests, especially in the entrepreneurship field. We don't see as many. It's definitely an industry dominated by men, and it takes a lot of courage to step out. Tell me about what kind of a company do you own?
So I'm the president of Alliance Printing Associates. We're located in Southern California. We are a printing and promotional products broker. So our clients come to us for, you can order a business card, a t-shirt, a cup, anything with your logo on it, any type of printing. And then what we do, we have some minimal production in-house, like for banners and posters, stickers, that kind of thing. But then we source out all the other products. And then along with the sourcing and the product, we also do warehousing and fulfillment on site.
The capability of what you guys are able to do is so vast. Yes, it's, it could be tchotchke things like coffee cups, pens. It could be gifts to clients, like whatever. It could be a yo-yo with a printed label on it. But also there's banners, there's paper, brochures, booklets. Yeah. You have in-house artists who can create, take an idea of a consumer, make branding, labels. You were telling me about a hand-rendered drawing of human anatomy the other day that was added into educational tools. You guys have made clothing, t-shirts, caps. I've used your company for a number of products. You guys developed the artwork for the banner and printed the banner. With my barbecue venture, when I got more serious into mortgages, you made me a retractable advertisement that's a life-size picture of me advertising my business. How big is your company? How many employees do you guys have?
There's 14 of us.
14, and you have an office location in California.
Right.
And the office location has a warehouse.
Right.
Has delivery staff.
Right.
Has sales.
Sales, warehouse. Port, yeah.
And where do you service? Who are your clientele?
Well, primarily our initial clientele is locally in Southern California, but many of those are nationwide companies. And so we produce and ship all over the nation.
It's really fun to look and see what you've built,
right,
and just see the fruit that you're able to harvest. And not only are you harvesting fruit, but you are really the matriarch of your whole family. And being, at the head of this pyramid, I've watched as you and your company are able to bless so many other people in your sphere with employment, opportunity, growth. You really use your company to bless others. But it didn't always used to be that way.
Right.
And it took a lot of trial and tribulation and perseverance to get to where you are today. And that's really the message that I want to focus on, because I feel like the life lessons that you have experienced were difficult, but they can offer sanctuary. They can offer a light, a beacon, a lighthouse in a storm for somebody who's maybe going through that period right now and feels alone and helpless. And I just think your story is so powerful, and I want to share that story. That's my goal today. I want to tell people how you even started into entrepreneurship, because it was a total accident.
Right. Wasn't a plan. Was never part of my long-term plan to own a business. I was in sales for 16 years. And some things happened where the company started to have some financial issues with some of the decisions that they made. And they decided to let the sales staff go, which included me. Did not expect it. And it was a very frightening time. I felt that my husband and I were going to lose our home, the things that we had built. I mean, I literally, I went home and got on my face before the Lord. Literally laid on the floor, my face on the floor, and just cried out to God that I don't know what to do and I need help.
Women do a lot of heavy lifting that maybe goes unrecognized, because the expectation for you was not only to, go to work and provide, but come home and do all of these other jobs and do them as well.
Right.
When you say that your former employer, they decided to let the sales staff go, I think it's important to put some context out there for the audience to understand why. So eventually they were starting to suffer from some financial losses, right? And so they hired a consultant that did not understand the industry.
Pretty much. I mean, to her, she felt like you could just let the sales staff go and then maintain all the commission that you had paid out to that sales staff. But what she didn't understand was that with sales, the relationship between the client and the salesperson, yes, you're selling under a company name, but the relationship is with the salesperson.
Yeah.
And so when they let us go, it was a very short time. There was another salesman there, Tom, who's now my business partner. He's the one that approached me and said, Didi, we're either going to go sell for another company or we're going to do this ourselves. Let's just do this. And I'm thinking, do what? What are you talking about? And he says, we can do this. We can do this. So I said, okay, let's connect with our clientele. Let's see if people are willing to come with us. And seriously, in a week's time, we had connected with all of our clientele, had gotten about 90% of them that said they would come with us as long as the service and the pricing maintained the same. We got a business license. We got a name. We got an office. And in a week, Alliance Printing was born.
How did you come up with the name?
Actually, Tom did. He actually had come up with that prior to us even being laid off.
Oh.
He was kind of laying a foundation thinking that down the road, he could probably do this on his own. Well, when everything got pulled out from underneath us, some of that was already set up. And so for him, it was just, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And he's that kind of guy.
Yeah.
He's the out-of-box partner. I'm the in-the-box partner.
Yeah.
And so he's like, let's do this. And off we went.
And that's something I think we should highlight later on, is how well you guys balance each other and how it's led to so much success in business. And you were just expressing to me the other day, it's kind of crazy to look at the company and look back at your journey and think, you didn't go to college. You
Neither
graduated.
one of us.
Yeah. You're not college graduates. You just graduated high school and started hustling and started working. Yeah. And really, by the grace of God, you guys have been delivered some incredible opportunities and growth. Your former employer really had no understanding or appreciation of a beneficial relationship with having high producing sales staff in their company. You told me that there was a gentleman who really shouldered the majority of the commissions.
Yes.
So he was bringing in the majority of the income for that company at the time.
Right.
And the owner's wife got a little jealous that he was making more.
Yeah, it was
on commission
uncomfortable
checks.
for her.
Yeah.
I think she just didn't understand that business philosophy, that it's okay if your salespeople are making a
Right.
significant amount of money, because of that, you're also making a significant amount of money. But what it does, as an owner, I see this now, my salespeople make more money than I do, and that's okay.
Right.
But for her, it was hard because she wasn't really a business person. I mean, she was just, helping with the books and that kind of thing. She'd see the money going out and thinking, well, we're paying them too much. So let's pull back on their gas allowance. Let's pull back on the phone allowance. And it just didn't make sense. And it caused that gentleman to seek out a company that wouldn't do that to him. And so he left and took his business with him. And that began the collapse of that company.
That was like the first domino that pushed
Yes.
over. Yeah.
was.
And it's just a total lack of awareness and understanding. This is what happens when you cannot see the benefit of healthy team relationships, of
Right.
symbiotic relationships. You'd rather have an entire grape to yourself than a slice of the watermelon. She obviously couldn't see that his high commissions, well, she was also benefiting from the high production.
Absolutely, yeah.
And by punishing that sales rep for doing a good job, for being hungry and wanting to grow and do more, by punishing that individual, they
lost everything.
lost everything because they were trying to be
Right.
greedy. So here comes a consultant. You guys are pushed out. You're laying flat on your face, crying out, what are we going to do? You're a young mom, and your business partner, Tom, approaches you and says, let's get started.
Let's do this.
So you make your phone calls. First week, you get, 90% of your clients agree that they're going to come over. What does the first couple months to a year look like as you guys are just getting started? I'm sure there's a huge learning curve, things that you didn't even expect to have to know.
The first thing we had to do was set up terms in the industry. So fortunately, I had been in the business for 16 years working with this gentleman, and I had good relationships with manufacturers. And so what I did is I went out and I would connect with them and say, listen, this is what's happening. I need credit. And so because I had the relationship and a reputation in the industry, those companies gave us net 30 terms. So that saved us a lot of upfront.
Explain a net 30 term, because that's something I'm unfamiliar with.
Okay, so I buy 5,000 business forms from ABC Company, and it costs $3,000. So when they bill me, when the job is complete, they bill me, I have 30 days to pay that bill. So in the interim, I've turned around, billed my client, usually net 30, and then pay them when I get paid.
Okay, so this is like a standard structure and fulfillment.
Yeah.
So because you had such good relationships and rapport with all of these producers, the manufacturers for so long, and they knew you because you've been in the industry, you could take a risk, and because you guys had a relationship, they were willing to support this new venture.
That is correct.
On the front end.
Yes. So that was quite a blessing, because you go into a new industry, you don't get that. You have to build that.
So now we're rolling. Now it's just you, Tom, your clients you brought with you, and these manufacturer relationships. And how long is that the size of Alliance Printing?
Oh, not very long. I mean, the first couple of weeks, it was just good memories. We would sit up till like 10, 11 o'clock at the office, on the floor, filling out credit applications, filling out forms for, different things that we needed to set up. But we actually brought, I think it was 2 of the people from that previous company.
Really?
That came over to support us. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy that you took the risk, and then all of a sudden there's a structure for other people to come work under?
Right.
And I think, what a great relationship. Business owners are truly the unsung heroes of America. It's what keeps America alive. Without business owners and entrepreneurs sticking their neck out and taking that risk to form a structure for average Americans to pay, there would be no transaction. The money would not exchange hands, and a lot of people, this is totally off topic on the podcast, so I'm sorry, but what pops into my head automatically is taxes. And a lot of people that don't understand business, that don't understand the risk associated with sticking your neck out and starting those businesses, but yet demand that, tax structures be changed to, be more equal or unfair, I guess, towards business owners, are totally discounting the amount of risk.
Right.
I mean, think about how much risk you took initially getting started. You're a young mom. You have a mortgage.
Everything.
You risked everything.
Everything.
And if you lost it, you lose everything.
Yep.
And an employee simply shows up. Not that we don't need them. We need them. It's a beneficial relationship, but by far you carry way more of the risk. And because you carry more of the risk, the government incentivizes you through tax incentives to take that risk, because the truth is if there was no tax incentive, why would you risk so much? You wouldn't. How was it in the beginning?
Chaotic and exciting. Really exciting and fun. I mean, it was scary.
Yeah.
Every day you didn't know what was going to happen, but at the end of each day it was like, wow, we made it another day, another week, a month. We're 6 months in. Who would have thought that it would happen, that it would work? And then with each person that we brought on, it did add more to the responsibility, but it also just added to the excitement and just the looking forward to, where are we going with this? Where is this going to take us?
Yeah.
So,
it's like probably being on a roller coaster,
Like a roller coaster, because then there's days, when if a job went bad, all of a sudden I'm responsible financially, and you got to figure that out. How do you make it good? How do you fix that with the client? All of a sudden everything lands on my shoulders, where before I was that employee that just came in, put my 8 to 5 in, and left and didn't pay attention to the taxes and the insurance and the payroll and, all of that.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is all on me now. This is now my new job. But that's okay. It's really exciting and scary at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, that is something that's really interesting and important to highlight. Is before, you didn't have an awareness of all these other complexities that you were going to have to add. And it was a bit, I bet, like building an airplane after you were already flying. You're assembling these pieces as you guys are trying to fly through the air.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, now we have payroll. We have employees. Well, I guess we need payroll, and we got to
we need insurance,
unemployment, and exactly. What was it that inspired you two to pair up initially? Why did he come to you, or vice versa?
Wasn't that funny? I'm not really sure why he came to me.
Really?
Maybe just because we were the last two that were standing there. I think probably it was just he and I.
Yeah.
We knew the business under that previous name, and so it was probably just more comfortable to, be in business with someone like me, since I already knew the manufacturers and his clients, and he knew mine and that kind of thing. So, thinking back, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a big part of it, that he didn't want to probably do it alone.
Right.
And he probably saw the benefit that I did bring, that I had the years in the industry and the relationships with the manufacturers and that kind of thing. So I'm sure that played a big part in it, of him.
Do you guys identify and have different roles in your company?
We pretty much run it together. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm technically the president because we're a woman-owned and certified business.
Yeah. And
so we had to make that decision. If we're going to go that route and get that certification, I've got to be the person at the top.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're both in sales. We both make financial decisions together. We, interview people together. So everything's pretty much done together. A lot of times I'll lean to him, like, Tom, what do you think? He's just got a good head on his shoulders, and I trust him in his decision making. And then he comes to me and will ask me, what do you think? We balance each other out pretty well.
I've had the privilege of seeing you guys interact for, almost 5 years now, if you can believe that already.
Right, I know. Time flies.
But you guys have a really good working relationship.
We do.
And personal relationship. Because you guys aren't just business partners, but you guys
we're
interact
friends
on a
outside
personal level. Yeah. You guys are kind of half relocating to Idaho together. You know, you can visit each other in California and
Idaho.
And Idaho.
Right.
I want to circle back to the days of unexpected change, because this is really what I want to harp on is, I think as humans, and I'm going to talk as a believer here for a minute, but as humans, we always have this vision, this idea of, almost privilege of, we demand to go in this direction, and look at how nice and comfortable my life is, and everything's going exactly as I planned it to go, and I have my eyes set on this destination, and I'm going to get to that destination, and then before you know it, life comes down and you're blown terribly off course, and you're in the middle of a storm, and it seems like, the clouds are swirling around you, and it's inescapable.
Right.
Something that I talk about regularly is the absolute fruit of just pushing through that discomfort. If you just do the difficult thing, change your perspective of the the storm that you're in, see it as a gift, right? This shift and this hardship is a gift. It's forming you into being the leader that you need to be, that God is forming you to become. Talk to me about the choices that you were making during that season of discomfort, during that hurricane, during the storm, where you didn't know how you're going to provide day to day. It had to be incredibly difficult to push through the fear. What do you think motivated you? What got you through that time?
Honestly, my husband at the time, he was very encouraging to me. Troy really supported me in that and believed in me and helped me to believe in myself that I could do this, along with Tom. Because he's kind of the, let's get it done. What are you afraid of? Let's just go. We'll figure it out. And he's still like that. He's still like that. We'll just figure it out. Don't worry about it.
You're lucky that you had people around you speaking that courage and wisdom into you. The circumstances that we are delivered are purposefully delivered to us. It's not chaotic, right? Like God has a plan.
Even though it feels like it's chaotic.
Totally. And being in that season, in the time that you're in that chaos, it's very hard to see outside that storm. Right. It's hard. All you see is the circling cyclone around you. Right. But if you could go back to that time in life and speak to younger Deanna who just got fired, think about some young entrepreneur, maybe a mom, maybe a single mom, maybe a single mom who doesn't have community like you had back then, who's out there on her own, battling, trying to provide a better life for her kids. How would you speak encouragement and wisdom to that entrepreneur in that stage of the journey when all she sees is darkness?
Wow, that's tough. I mean, again, I come from it from a different perspective. I'm a believer.
Talk about that. I think that's incredibly important. Yeah, it's almost like it's a cheat code.
Yeah, I know that I'm never alone, even though sometimes you feel like it. I know that God wants what's best for me. That doesn't mean that I'm going to be successful in the way I think I'm successful. Exactly. I would just encourage people, if you know the Lord, to really lean in on that and just day by day, you just have to devote yourself. You have to open yourself up to His leading. Don't live in fear. I mean, that's easier said than done because fear is real. And I think it can consume us. Yeah. But we need to step outside of that fear box. And Tom helped me with that. And Troy, both of those guys helped me to step out of that fear. Because my thing was just to shut down or to go take the easier route. And they pushed me into, no, we're gonna do this.
How much were you battling fear during that time? That little voice inside your brain that was lying to you, telling you, like, you can't do this. A lot. You're going to fail.
Yeah, a lot. But I was fortunate in that I had people around me that kept saying, you can do this. Yeah. You've got this. It's funny. I had some friends that didn't think that was such a good idea. They'd be like, oh, I don't know. That's you could lose everything. Might not be good to go into business with a friend. All those things that you hear. Yeah. And those are valid points. Those are things you have to think through. Mm-hmm. But in the long run, for me, it really worked out to be a benefit.
So. I will tell you, my journey hasn't been as long as yours. But I've been poking around the entrepreneur space now, and I'm getting my feet wet. I've graduated past the big toe, and I got my ankle in there. And there are always going to be those people that tell you it's not a good idea, it's risky. Right. What about the economy? What if this? What if that? What if a meteor comes and destroys Earth tomorrow? What if your head falls off?
Right. Yeah.
And if you're listening to this and you have those voices in your life, number one, my best recommendation to you is to become hyper aware of the voices that you're surrounding yourself with and what they are telling you. And number two is ask yourself the opposite question. What's the exact opposite of what if the economy's bad and what if you don't fail and what if we switch those questions to what if everything goes right? What if we do what we say we're going to do? What if it's 10 times greater than we ever thought it could be? What's the upside? Ultimately, we are not in charge. And we have to relinquish that control and submit. But at the same time, that doesn't mean we lay down and die. We can submit and drive our feet like there's no tomorrow. Something that I've become incredibly aware of is where our attention goes, the energy flows. And the stories that we tell ourselves, if we sit and say, what if it doesn't work? What if it, it's probably not going to work. Right. It will probably never grow. The seeds you plant will die and wilt. They're in shallow soil. But if we focus on the goodness, God's goodness, the upside potential and the possibilities, where we where we focus that attention is what we divert our energy to, and becomes more fertile. I guess my recommendation would be to become aware of the people that are in your circle. And if they're not cheering for your success and supporting you and encouraging you, sometimes we have to do what is best for us long term. And then circling back, you were talking about the fear. We had this conversation yesterday in the car. Just simply working backwards, those feelings of fearfulness, of just frozen in inactivity from fear. Well, obviously, that doesn't come from God. God's not going to speak to you and lie to you in such a way and tell you, like, you can't do things, you're not powerful. That's obviously, that's a tactic of the enemy. And if the goal is to keep you out of community, keep you from living your full potential life, to keep you isolated and afraid and alone and in shame, well, then those are the lies that I would tell somebody to make them stay frozen in that progress. And the more powerful we become, the more undeniable we become, the more tools we have at our disposal to grow the kingdom. Why does the enemy want you spreading that around?
Right. I think also every day you just get up and you do the steps that you're supposed to do. And then when that day's done, you'll just have a little bit more confidence, a little less fear. Yeah. Every day. Just let that build.
Because you're stacking up wins.
Right, you're stacking up wins. And that's what I did. I would get up and I'd go into the office. We had no idea what was going to happen. It was a little scary. But then as the day went on and, you're taking care of business and you're problem solving and you're making decisions, at the end of the day, you're like, wow, that was a really good day.
It's interesting, too, because the sales individual we were talking about, that was the initial domino that kind of led to the collapse of that company. Right. That individual is now one of your sales reps.
He is, yes. Yeah. A couple years in, we sat down with him and asked him to, come have lunch. We want to talk, and offered him a little bit better deal than he was getting at the company that he left to go to. And he came to work for us, and now he's been with us for 20 plus years. And he's a significant part of our company. He brings in a good amount of money, and we try to take the best care of him as we can. We don't want him going anywhere.
Well, you know what? You learn from other people's mistakes.
We did.
Not to bring the conversation down, but when we get on these cycles in life where things are going well and, we're doing well and the business is doing well, just because it's good day to day doesn't mean it's always going to be that way. And we have to anticipate storms.
Right.
And if you're sitting here right now thinking, my life is so good, everything's going the way I want it to go, I'm making the money I want to make, my company's functioning the way I want it to function, I would just caution you to prepare for a storm.
Always.
Mentally prepare. Yeah. Mentally, psychologically, spiritually prepare, because it is impossible to think that you can navigate the duration of your life and never enter a storm again.
Right.
And
the storms will come.
The storms will come.
Yeah.
100% guarantee.
Yeah. Our first storm as a company was in 2008 when the economy crashed.
Yeah.
And we almost lost our business.
How? Tell me
just
about
because people stopped buying tchotchkes.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big part of our business. Marketing materials, all the print, all the full color print. People just stopped because companies were afraid.
Capital dried up.
It just dried up. And so, that was a really tough time, but we survived it. I mean, we stopped paying for health insurance for our employees and cut wherever we could. I went about 6 months without taking any money out of the company. Tom cut his income, and he's a father of 8. Fortunately, I had a husband that was working, and so we were able to go without my income for a certain period of time. And we had to lay off somebody. I mean, it was just a really tough time. Unexpected. We didn't do anything wrong, but we survived that. We learned a lot of lessons during that time, and that was another scary time. But you do have to prepare for those kinds of things with savings and just being smart with your money.
Yeah. Every adversity, every difficulty, everything that you think seems insurmountable and you are delivered through makes you more powerful. It makes you more undeniable. It makes you the leader that you are created to become. In a strange way, we should be in gratitude for those difficult times because it forms us. It forms us into the full version of ourselves that God put us here.
It's very true. It's a really hard thing to see when you're going through it, but when you come out on the other side and you look back, you can see all the blessings and the growth and the building that comes from that. Yeah.
I'm sure I've told you, I have a high level of respect for somebody who is out there running their own business. I'm sure you know how special I think it is, you know.
Yeah.
I really look up to you. I look up to you in a lot of ways. I look at you as a person who's trying to make a difference, because your business isn't just a way for you to make money.
Right.
It's a way for you to pull the lever that you feel like is going to have a positive impact on the community that you live in and serve. You're the first person who regularly tells me that every day is not going to be your Oscar performance day, and you have to give yourself grace. And there's going to be seasons where you're less productive, you're not engaged, you make mistakes. And I think a lot of people put this expectation to just be perfect every single day.
We can't be. We could strive for that.
Yeah.
But there are days when it's just not going to happen for whatever reason. I mean, whether you become ill or family issues. I mean, there's just things that happen in life that will pull you back from that.
Yeah.
But then it's important to, get back to it also, the
Absolutely.
day-to-day. Yeah.
And overall, you've had more good days than bad, but I think something that has really been your saving grace is just an allergy to stagnation. You guys have constantly evolved and grown, and even from the time I met you, your company is different now than when I first met you.
Sure.
And I think that that's what you have to do as a business owner. So if we could just highlight the themes really quickly that we've talked about today is, number one, have your head screwed on straight and have you and I believe in God, but have that spiritual source, that lighthouse that's guiding us through the storm.
Right.
Pushing through that fear, not believing the lie
Pushing through fear,
of the
absolutely.
fear.
That's huge.
Moving your feet every single day.
Yep.
Giving yourself grace to not be perfect.
Right.
Every single day.
Right.
Understanding the benefit of, business relationships, of balance on your business team. Understanding the relationship of the symbiotic relationship that your sales engine brings, right? Your sales personnel and your employees, because you can't do this by yourself.
You can't do it by yourself, right.
Yeah. And so having an understanding of that, and being willing to share in that journey is really what's made you so successful.
And there's been some tough times, but I think you do have to be able to stand up and just keep walking forward, no matter what comes your way. And there's days you're just going to be down. There's just nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
But, you slowly get yourself up and you just keep walking and you just keep working and be honest and truthful and caring and compassionate. And I feel like some of the things I've gone through have made me more compassionate, towards my employees. And I've been able to come alongside of them and really try to mentor them or just help them or be compassionate, give them the time they need to work through the experiences that they're going through. And it's a blessing. Tom and I've always said it's just so neat to be able to help people, our employees, and just to be there for them and support them the best that we can.
Well, you should be very proud, Didi. I mean, you have a very successful company with large name clients. I mean, big name, nationally recognized clients. You had you had Molina, you had Delta Dental, Harbor Freight. Yeah. Who else? You guys work
Molina
with the city.
and Delta Dental are gone.
But they have been clients in your
They have been clients,
business.
Absolutely. Yeah, Harbor Freight, Via America, the
City
Angels,
of Long Beach,
City of Long Beach,
You have some big
quite
names.
a few, Marathon.
Yeah.
There's some big, we have some big names.
Speaking of, before I forget, we were talking about this earlier, I got to start wearing my brand.
Very important to wear your brand.
Every single day.
Wear a hat, on your T-shirt.
Yeah, I got to talk to you about getting some swag, some hats and T-shirts and jackets. We got to let people know what's going on out there. Anyways, Didi, it has been a pleasure to have you here today and share in a vulnerable way, about the transition and the growth. And it's easy to come in and talk about the wins. It's not as easy to talk about the hardship.
There's been some hardships,
yeah, but I appreciate you coming in. Where can people get a hold of you?
Online, we're allianceprintingassociates.com.
I'll tell you what we'll do. If you're listening to this episode and you want to get in contact with Alliance Printing, who, by the way, I know I joke around with it and it is family, but they are the exclusive supplier of all of my personal printing needs for my business, all my gifts and tchotchkes and clothing and apparel and banners and advertising. If you guys want to reach out to Alliance Printing and see what they can offer, I'm going to include their website in the show notes. So go ahead and check out the show notes. There'll be a clickable link there for a website. You can send them an inquiry if you want, but definitely check them out. They're a great family-owned business, great people, and they're supporting a community. So
thank you, Tim.
You are very welcome. And as always, guys, listen, if you enjoy this content, if you enjoy the message and you're getting something out of it, do me a favor. Like the show, subscribe to the podcast, give us a 5-star review. encourage your friends to listen. And don't forget about our Pints and Properties meetup. If you are interested in getting in the proximity of entrepreneurs and business owners, real estate investors, you want to learn, you want to sit in the room, whether you've never done a deal or you're doing tons of big deals, go ahead and get signed up and just come sit in the room and build your network. I promise you there's going to be some benefit from just sitting in the room and meeting other people in the industry doing what you want to do. Go ahead and check that out below in the show notes. There's a clickable link, sign up, and we will see you at the next meeting. Thank you guys for sticking around, and we will catch you all on the flip side.